Good evening and welcome back to Deep Images. On the heels of our Hallows Eve 2024 coverage, we are beginning a brand new horror-centric series. This time around, we'll be tackling vampires. Regarding this sanguine subject, we will be discussing some of the usual suspects that we have not gotten around to in the past, and some very unusual suspects. So, some classics, some obscurities. Joining me in this first blood-soaked session will be these amazing folks. Co-hosts C.F. Roberts and Justin Cotton, veteran panelists Bill Mulligan, Francis Chu, and Briggy Williams, and awesome newcomer Aaron Garland. And I am Henry Covert. So please join us as we begin season 4 of Deep Images. It would not be possible if not for you guys. If you would drop a like and subscribe to the channel, it would help us out tremendously. So let's get into it. I'm going to go ahead and talk about a movie that I've been into for quite a long time. I really think this director had to be talked about in any vampire um, symposium. Last year, he was discussed, but unfortunately, I couldn't get the person who used to be with our channel to discuss a good movie of his. So because he'd never seen any of the others, and he's like, "Well, this is the one I've seen," and I'm like, "All right." So I'm going to cover a classic of his though. Um, that's Jean Rollin. So Jean Rollin,
Yeah.
kind of is the king of French fantastique films. Most of his films have been about vampires, but he's done several others, undead and zombies, and uh, kind of I don't know other weird stuff. And then some movies of his are kind of action, erotic. He's done porn. He's also done a film Night of the Hunted, which I particularly like, which is this kind of austere existentialist movie that's kind of J.G. Ballard, Cronenberg influence. Not as good as either, but it's nice. With Bridget LaHaye, Bridget LaHaye was a porn actress he acquired as kind of his muse and got her out of porn. She's in a number of his films. Um, so this was before any of that. This was in 1971, and it's called The Frisson de Vampire. So
Oh
that's the
yeah.
actual name of the movie. It has been translated and retranslated and wrongly translated all through the years. So the title this is known most popularly as nowadays as Shiver of the Vampires, and this is a recent edition by Indicator, which is a British label. But like Arrow has done, they've started making North American friendly editions, Region A editions on Blu-ray. This poster, by the way, is by Philippe Drouillet. This was really the real poster of the movie. He's an underground French fantasy artist. He was one of the early artists from Heavy Metal or Metal Hurlant magazine. Incredible. He had a comic strip called Lonesome Sloan in the late 60s. It's really wild. But he did several of these. He did the first 3 or 4 Jean Rollin movie posters. So this is Rollin's third movie, and like the first two, it's about vampires. He was on a roll. Uh, I like his first two movies quite a bit, actually. He was a surrealist aficionado. Um, he was really inventive, and it's funny. I've been into this movie since I found a copy at a comic book convention in 1994 or five called Thrill of the Vampires. I had heard of it. Well, I'd heard of it as Frisson. I had not heard an English translation of as Thrill, but there was actually a something weird video had done a version, and for them it was kind of a bad product. I mean, but they didn't have much to work with. Um, but still, I liked the mood of it. I loved the music. I had some great images. I will say that this Blu-ray, watching it on a big TV with the sound really high, I think I really never watched the movie until this week. I mean, I watched this when I first got it on Blu-ray a month or two ago, but I just kind of put it on to make sure it played okay, and then I went about doing stuff. Um, but it's quite an experience. It's beautiful, beautifully shot. The colors are amazing. It's very of its time. It's kind of psychedelic. Uh, it's very. It just has a lot of mood to it, and the score by Acanthus. They were like this kind of. I don't know if they're well known at the time, but now obscure French rock band, and it's very much the early '70s rock, and that sounds kind of semi improvised and a lot of guitar shenanigans, and I love that stuff. So great moody stuff, and basically it's about this couple. They're on a honeymoon, and you've heard this one before, and the young woman Isel, she's going to visit her cousins on the countryside. So her cousins are kind of nutty. They're these two guys who are they're bohemian. They both have very different looks from each other, but they both are very bohemian. They're very, long sleeves, Edwardian kind of shirts, beautiful wardrobe, purples, and all these incredible colors, bright oranges, and tons of necklaces and jewelry and occult symbols. And they're intellectuals, but Roland plays them kind of humorously, and I think that goes over the head of a lot of people who watch this movie. I think once they hear the character speaking in these very literate philosophical things, obviously they go, it's a French movie, but see, I happen to love French movies, so I get it. But it's not like all straight. I mean, it's like they start to like finish each other's sentences. They start to like go in round robin, and then the camera will follow them in round robin while they're talking, to the main character. So it's their POV, and like one will say one thing, a point they'll make, and then the other will make a pun on it. Uh, and it's good directing of actors. It has a great rhythm. I don't know if they rehearsed it a lot before they shot it, but it reminded me of something intricate you do on stage. Uh, but so these kind of decadent dudes of indeterminate age. One guy looks maybe 30, 35. The other guy looks maybe 40, 45. Of course, they're a lot older than that, the characters, but they live in this castle. They seem relatively harmless, but they're not. Um, and a character named Isabel, who is friends of the cousins. When they get there, they hear the cousins have died. And Isel's like, "Oh no, they're dead." Well, they're not really dead, and Isabel tries to warn them they're not really dead, and you don't really know why she's warning them instead of being happy about it. But she gets killed off. So the couple has to hang out with these two weirdos, and they're in this kind of very spar castle with no electricity, no running water, and these massive candelabras, and they're just kind of speaking about these existential matters. But a lot of it is like, I think Roland poking fun at. I think he's poking fun at people who are poking fun at French existentialism, if that makes sense. It's a
Mhm.
very self-aware piece. Um, but it opens with one of the opening portions. You see these two young ladies, and they're never named. And one is a young, demure, petite white girl with blonde hair, and one is an Asian woman, very pretty. And they're holding these candelabras through the whole movie. And they have these incredible outfits. Their main one they wear is a translucent, uh, transparent, lavender robes from head to toe, no underwear. And this is a European movie, and so nobody bats an eyelash at this, but nor do I. But and so yeah, they're walking around, and they come upon in this castle with this incredible spiral staircase and just beautiful lighting. And there's a vampire. Stake in his He got a stake in his heart. The effects they didn't really put any thought into. You can tell it's just the guy holding the stake, but his dialogue is great. And he's basically like, "I'm going beyond death, and you must leave, or you will be in servitude to those who remain." And because basically he's killing himself because he's sick of living as this decadent being. And this movie is kind of, it seems like it glamorizes vampirism, especially I read reviews of it, and people talk about, I do think there's some of his movies that glorify lesbian vampirism. This is not one of them. This is a very anti-vampire film. So, um, I mean, Jean Rollin liked vampires, but he didn't, think they were awesome or anything. He didn't think they were happy or were ever going to be happy. So in this movie, you have some that are really kind of that they're jaded. They've had enough, and it doesn't specify how old they are, but they were vampire hunters in their day. In their day, I'm assuming they did not wear these bohemian hippie clothes, but you don't know what they wore. They were in Europe, but apparently they were the vampire hunters who extinguished roving gangs of vampires on the countryside in France. And I mean, they make a funny joke about like we were the kings of vampire hunters. We were the vampire hunters. No one could beat us. We were the top echelon. And they're trying to elicit sympathy from Esel. This time the husband have figured out they're vampires, and so they kind of come clean. This is what we are, but we want you to be sympathetic to us. And he's like, fuck no. And then that's when they tell the story that, yeah, we were vampire hunters. And then an unfortunate, the other guy was accident, and the other guy was no accident, uh, befell us. And here we are. And we grew to love and accept this, but, this is our fate. What can we do, Uh, there's another vampire, Dominique, and Dominique's the actress. Actually, the character's named Isolde. She's a very distinctive woman, very 70s. She's very skinny, and she looks like a gypsy. She's got a big headband and these incredible ornate robes and beads. And she sometimes sleeps in a clock in the daytime instead of a coffin. She's really that skinny enough she can do it. They actually, at one point, they open the thing and she's there. She comes out, and that's a really famous shot from the movie. But um, they hinted that she's the most powerful one. She hides the most too. She hides kind of in the recesses of the castle. She doesn't like hang out with these two dudes, just sit around all day philosophizing. Um, she may have been the one who turned them. It's a little vague. Um, but uh, she does bite and seduce Isol. So same plot we've been talking about during this series. Uh, this could be any number of these movies: the Daughters of Darkness, Bride, A Blood Spattered Bride, the Newlyweds, and the strong female vampire seduces the doe-eyed young ingenue bride into the world of vampirism, and and you decide whether it's better or not. Um, in this case, her husband is a cool guy. Daughters of Darkness and Blood Spatter Bride, the husbands are just garbage, and have all these bizarre sexual hangups. This guy's not like that at all. He's just a happy-go-lucky French dude. He just wants to be with his wife. And his wife's being vampirized, and she's kind of mesmerized. She starts to go, "We must stay with my cousins. I love them." I mean, she really never even knew them before this very much, and we've got to stay here. And he's like, "Fuck." So he does not succeed. One thing he does in order to try to ward them off, he has a pistol, and he starts shooting them. Well, that doesn't. I mean, they're not silver bullets or wooden bullets, so nothing happens. And he keeps doing it though, and reloading. I'm like, um, and they don't seem malevolent. They're very like fey, and I don't want to say effeminate. I don't want to say gay or flamboyant, but they're very like a bohemian hippie dudes of that time, like skinny, lanky, androgynous kind of long hair. They're just like seem like, yeah, man, the cosmos. I mean, they probably smoke a lot of weed in the castle, drop some LSD, and actually they're pretty cool, really, but they're vampires. So yeah, I mean, basically the twist of the movie toward the end that's interesting because there's a recurring visual motif of these two girls who are referred to in some write-ups like on Wikipedia, who I've been having a lot of problems with dealing with lately with these movies. They call them Renfields, and it's like, and then you go to a link and it takes you to something like clinical vampirism. It's like, okay, yeah, that is what a Renfield is in real life, but that's not what a Renfield is in a film. It's a familiar that's been, led along by a vampire's blood and etc. And I talked about that when we talked about Vamp. There's a character like that in there. Um, I don't know what I would call them because it does seem they are ensorcelled by these guys. But the twist really is that either they wake up out of the ensorcelment, if that's a word, or they've been waiting for their moment to heed what the dying vampire at the beginning said. Basically, like, either get out or basically, they need to be destroyed. He didn't tell them to destroy them, but so very mischievously they bar the gates with crucifixes, So they're not vampires. And they trap Dominique inside, but before she can get back to her coffin, they set fire. They just put fire right in the side of the coffin with it open. So she has nowhere to go. So she's toast. So the other two guys, they're out at night trying to get Isol, uh, because they feel like, well, now she's going to be our new Isolde and our queen. And the thing about this is kind of a proto Anne Rice idea too, is that there are kind of sexually ambiguous. I mean, they don't seem sexual with each other, the two men, but in the beginning, the character Isabel, who was warning them, she was about to marry the men. She was about to marry both of them at the same time, which I don't think was legal in France at the time, but they were going to do it. And this is the same idea. They want to take a new bride for the two of them, and it's going to be, our man Antoine, main character's bride. Unfortunately, it's getting to be near dawn, and the day for night shots are not convincing. I mean, they look cool, but they don't look accurate. I mean, they look like the vampires would be starting to sizzle by then, but they just, you just have to go with it, I guess. But it does get more interesting visually, and they're just like they basically just he can't get her away from them, and they just start vampirizing her. I don't know what they give up on going back to the castle. Like, can they make it? And then they're like, we must stay here. But if they're gonna stay there, they want her to die with them. They want to make her a full vampire. I mean, it's just these guys are they're a trip. So that's what happens, and then the brightness comes upon them. And I thought, I know Roland cannot afford to set any of these people on fire, a stunt person.
Huh.
I'm going to see how he intercuts this with a dummy, three dummies.
Uh,
But he doesn't. They disappear.
uh,
They literally disappear. Which, I've seen that too. Um,
uh.
just beautifully shot. The guy just wandering around. What's he going to do?
On
Um,
that damn beach. Okay, just why did I feel like every Roland movie has that damn beach?
oh, of
It's
course.
not a put
Lever
down.
de
I love
Song.
them, but
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah. Lever de Song, the guy's wandering on the beach,
yeah,
mourning his love. And
yeah.
I don't know if I guess it was a specific location where he could film.
Oh, sorry, non sequitur. The
No, that's okay. A lot of people, but watching this, I mean, a lot of people do make fun of Orlando because the arc of his career, not as many as used to before these movies came out on DVD and Blu-ray, but they're like, oh, Zombie Lake sucks, and yeah, Zombie Lake sucks, and yeah, he did pornos, whatever. But I mean, these first several films, they're works of art. They're beautiful. He wasn't some hack. He knew exactly what he was doing. So what if they were low budget? That's not, you can't even tell that. I mean, they're so beautifully appointed, and then get a classy poster like this from Drouet and this killer psychedelic music, and it's no wonder that these have endured. And this is my favorite of the initial trilogy. So it's nice seeing it kind of anew, and appreciating the vibe of it. It's just really beautiful to look at. Dialogue's wonderful, music's groovy. Highly recommend it.
And
There's
what movie? What year was this again?
1971, Le Frisson de
71.
or Shiver of the Vampires, or Thrill of the Vampires, or other
Mhm.
ridiculous drive-in names like it wasn't the one that was Caged Virgins. I think that was Requiem for a Vampire, but uh Roland's stuff was really just completely butchered in America. It's just like,
Can you hold that cover up again? Do you mind?
of course.
Thanks.
Now the same guy did the poster for the first three movies. One of them, the nude vampire,
Hmm.
and a friend of mine I used to hang out with. He had the
Right.
nude vampire poster. He had an original
Oh, that's
giant one
amazing.
on canvas. It took up his whole wall. It cost like
Hmm.
$250, which was an enormous discount.
Great posters and so unique.
Hmm.
Oh, yeah. I first saw Duryea in heavy metal, and then I went on
Yeah.
World Encyclopedia of Comics when I was like 9. Well, 'cause that was before I saw heavy metal. I saw Lonesome Sloan. Then I saw him in heavy metal. I didn't realize immediately they were the same person. He was very Jim Steranko-esque when he started. They almost like an imitation Steranko. But then he got into this whole kind of ornate thing and just beautiful, like
It
Baroque.
kind of reminds me a little bit of the artist Boris. Are you familiar with his work?
Boris, yeah, Boris is more painterly and
Hmm.
um I don't like a lot of Boris's stuff past like around the late 70s. I actually like his stuff where he was imitating Frazetta. It just has
Yeah.
more mood. The stuff when he got really clean with the airbrush and all the
Hmm.
men and women look like Arnold Schwarzenegger and these, and, body pumping women. And he married
Yeah.
Julie Bell and She
Oh, really?
yeah, she was a bodybuilder, and then
Oh,
he
wow.
taught her to paint like him, and now she does
Mhm,
this kind of art, and it just is soulless to me. I mean, I know it's going to
mhm,
offend a lot of fans out there probably, um, but like for instance, Boris did covers for like Creepy, Eerie, and the Marvel magazines, and they're
mhm.
incredible. I just bought a Kazar magazine, a Savage Tales with Kazar. Got it really cheap. It has a Boris cover. It is fucking awesome. It looks like it's like Kazar. It looks kind of like he's trying to do Kazar and Zabu like um
Ooh.
Rosetta's Tarzan paperback covers. Um anyway, thoughts on this film? I know Chuck has seen it. I know this nice young man Aaron's seen the beginning of it, but
No, I haven't seen it, but sounds really intriguing.
Bill?
So,
Uh,
and I'm
th-
not, excuse me, I'm not, you know, I don't know that much about art, but it really feels like Frazetta to me when I look at it.
Yeah, there was a lot of great fantasy art in that period.
Mm.
It was just amazing. Those Neil Adams Tarzan paperback covers and the Conan Frazetta ones. Um, so Bill, you haven't seen this one, or it's just
again, I have. Now, tell me again how you pronounce the director's name.
Jean Rollin,
Wow, I've just been doing it 100% wrong.
like
I
Jean-Paul
sent.
Sartre. Think of Jean-Paul Sartre. Nobody calls him Jean-Paul Sartre. Sartre.
Oh, well, no, I sure have.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
not
So,
saying that people
so
haven't, but it's
basically,
incorrect.
I pronounce every French person like I'm a character in Inglorious Bastards. It's like Gene Rollins. So
Yeah,
this
I
is
pronounce
another
people's
one.
names the way they want them pronounced. That's
When I
not.
was way too young, I got this great book on horror. I got every horror book there was, and this one was especially popular because just chock full of nudity. Because they did a whole chapter on Euro
Great
stuff,
book. Yeah,
and this was passed around my friends. Literally, it wasn't print, it wasn't bound particularly well, especially with a bunch of horny 12-year-olds pawing through it. And it's I still have it somewhere, but it's held together just by with love and his they had so many they had stuff from him and Franco. So yeah, a whole chapter on that stuff. And we're like, holy God, this stuff is amazing. And the posters looked great. And he has a he has an artist's eye. He's obviously a painter, or
yeah,
at
yeah.
least he hangs
He's
out with
also a
painters. Yeah,
poet. Yeah.
he knows how to compose things. He has less than no budget. I mean, to call these low budgets an insult to budgets.
But these early ones, he had a small budget.
He has
I mean,
something
now the
small, but
later ones, like Living Dead Girl, yeah, he struggled to do the effects on that one.
yeah. And it's tough watching that. I mean, Franco is another one who has talent. You don't get to work with Orson Welles without having talent. But unfortunately, both of these guys had the ability to make a movie with no budget. And once word gets out that you can make a movie with no budget, that's exactly the budget they're going to give you. They're going to give
Yeah,
you as
it's
little as they can get away with.
everything they
Um,
demand of you.
yeah. So these are other ones that I need to go revisit. Are these available on Tubi?
Yes, Phil Shiver the Vampire is on
Well,
Tubi. Um, Aaron here watched some of it last night on Tubi.
no, I need to go. Are they good copies?
Not quite as brilliant as this, but really, really good. Yeah, better
Yeah.
than those tapes we were talking about.
Well, the fact that that's available probably means good copies will start popping up on
Well,
YouTube.
actually, all of the Roland stuff and a lot of the Franco stuff was some of the earliest cult stuff that came out on Blu-ray like 10 and 15 years ago.
Mhm.
Because like the Redemption, you remember Redemption UK, that guy, all his stuff
Mhm.
started coming out through I forget which label. Some of it was Redemption and some of it was through another label. Now, Kino Lorber owns all of the Redemption catalog. So now you can, for $15, you can buy Kino on Kino Lorber, you can buy Night of the Hunted by Jean Rollin, a
Mm.
pristine copy that you paid $30 for shitty tape 30 years.
Yeah.
You know,
I think I need to revisit some of these because I found the ones that I had kind of a slog to get through. But again, these were horrible copies, and having a person who's got the visuals such an important part of his work
he has
to
the
have
eye.
that snatched away from you, and what you're left with is poorly dubbed stuff, except for Fascination, which I did find a good copy and I really enjoyed.
Yeah,
So
I
I
like
think a lot of
Fascination.
my enjoyment of his work will be directly
In the
related to
80s
just
when
how
he
good a copy I can get.
Yeah, I do think some, especially some of these directors that are very cinematic and yet didn't have the only way you're going to really see their production values if you see them
Mm.
as they were photographed. And we were robbed of that, our generation growing up. But, you know, Aaron's generation has got it made, man. You got them all.
Oh yeah.
You got them on streaming. You got them, going into, you could go into Target and get this. No, I'm kidding. But practically, um, so
Yeah, these kids today, they got it easy. We had to like walk to a video store uphill both ways in the snow, 3 miles. Yeah.
we had to get online. Well,
And we
there
were
wasn't an
grateful.
online, was there, Bill? Ooh.
Right. No.
I was gonna say we had to get online and order from videos. Wait a minute, I had to call Tom Weiser on the phone. How is this copy, Tom? Oh, it's great, but it's not perfect, but it's the only game in town. And I'd buy it and I'd be like, it's smudge.
Okay. In the middle, accidentally, I erased it and Frasier comes on. So, but you take what you can get.
Yeah, there were some strange ones I used to get that
So
Yeah.
let me ask you,
by all means.
are these, I'm sorry, are these on Tubi? You said that these are fully like in their entirety?
Oh
Are
yeah,
they cut?
Tubi doesn't run cut movies.
Oh, great.
Nobody does anymore that's legit. I mean, yeah, AMC still does, but they're
Mhm.
idiots. I mean, they've lost all credibility in my opinion. But
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, TCM plays uncut movies, and some of the ones that Belladonna of Sadness, I first saw it on TCM at midnight. And
Mhm.
if they're going to play that even at midnight on Saturday, then they'll play anything.
And of course, these things that were so transgressive in their day now seem a little tame because, yeah, sure, there's nudity, but no more than an average episode of Game of Thrones. So,
Belladonna of Sadness, it's even though it's animated, it's still disturbing because the image that
well,
they use
yeah.
for the rape is just.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it's
The
pretty
fact that it's that animation makes it even more disturbing because you associate cartoons with,
because
kids and
they incorporate all they combine blood and flame and phallic, and it's just.
yeah.
I love it. We reviewed it. Me and Chuck did it, and it's called. What series was that in? The Demons and Devils series, which precedes.
Yeah.
Check that out. But we had a good talk about that. But yes, Briggy, yes, we are indeed in the golden age of cult entertainment for the most part. Most
Okay.
of the holy grails have finally been unearthed. So
Excellent.
yeah, Tubi has things uncut. Tubi has ads though.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't have them on my computer, but on my phone, I can't block them out. I'm sure there's a way. I just too slack to do it. But so sometimes it gets frustrating because every like 10 minutes they'll have a minute of ads. I've
Yeah.
just gotten to where I just have something to eat or read or something. And here comes an ad, and I'll just be like, tune it out.
Yeah.
A few like 5 more seconds.
Mhm.
But yeah, I mean, and it's Plex is a platform that has an
Yeah.
enormous amount of films that are very obscure or
Mhm.
were once well known but are now obscure, every genre, you know. Um, so yeah. But thank you for asking. Now the audience hopefully will check those platforms out and watch these movies.
Yeah, completely. Oh, you have to subscribe and you have to like and you have to share because sharing is caring. So thank you.
Sharing is caring.
Yes. Why am I here again? What are we doing?
That's okay.
And
Go ahead.
share, damn it. Share on all the platforms.
Sharing is caring. I heard just now.
That's right.
So what you got for us, man?
All right. Well, first one I want to do in this little volley of stuff is going to be a quickie because it is short, it is sweet, and it is an SOV vampire movie. It's SOV for a lot of you non-video geeks out there is shot on video.
Yeah, you thought it was some
So
kind of cursing thing, didn't y'all, watching?
yeah, no, we're not gonna curse you yet. That comes later. But
Yeah, I know what you thought that V stood for too. But go ahead, Chuck.
oh goodness. But this is a
I'm so glad I'm muted because I have so
Mm.
many things I'm saying under my breath right now. Oh my goodness.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah, sorry, I'm good for that.
Okay.
This is a little jam from 2000 called "At Dawn They Sleep," and this stars two guys, Brian Paulin, who
Oh, the
also
filmmaker Brian Paulin.
Yes, who also directed and wrote it.
I've seen a lot of his movies. I haven't seen that one.
Okay, well this is a very early one from
I didn't
him,
know he did.
and produced and starred by a guy named Rich George, who also was pretty much more or less the stunt coordinator.
Oh, okay.
And this is and they basically play a couple of it's kind of funny watching this is like suddenly everyone's talking like, park the car in the damn harbor, motherfucker. But they it's just you look and suddenly I realize, okay, wow, these are a couple of Boston area homeboys. And so it's kind of like, okay, I felt right at home. And sure enough, a lot was shot in Providence, Rhode Island, and Attleboro, Mass, and Seekonk, Mass, which is right around near where I grew up.
Oh, okay.
And they basically play a couple of drug dealers who are kind of going back and forth, and they've got stuff going with kind of a rival drug guy, rival gangsters. And yeah, they're also hardcore metalheads, and so you've got this kind of big bad kind of black metal, thrash metal soundtrack. And
Brian's very into black metal.
yeah, and that's
Though I
very
have better
much,
taste in black metal than him, but it's all relative to some people.
yeah, very much in evidence at any rate.
Yeah.
But so one night they basically pick up a couple of women, and the women turn out, they do a good job kind of messing with vampire lore and coming up with a bunch of new things here.
Hmm.
The two women that they pick up turn out to be these renegade angels who tell them instantly, yeah, you don't know, yeah, you stupid humans, you stupid monkeys don't know anything, besides the lies and the nonsense they tell you in your churches. And they basically bite their necks and turn them into vampires.
Hmm.
And so as soon as these guys go through their whole vampire transition, just feeling sick and not dealing with it terribly well, after a few days they become vampires, and then they decide to run out. And I think Brian Pollan's character ends up like gunning him down and running a car through his house. And
A little drastic.
yeah, and of course he gets right back up and he's like, damn it, what these guys have done to me. Well, they decide, well, we're going to go house and we're going to go kill these guys because now we're vampires. And which they do. And there's lots of good blood and mayhem and killing. And these guys, Paulin does all his own gore effects. He's pretty good. I mean, given this thing had a budget, I think, of $7,000.
That was high for him back then.
Yeah, and it's not just that. I mean, for the $7,000 they have, it looks pretty good for the most part.
Okay.
And the other thing is Rich George. They set up, okay, so how many cars do you want to wreck in this? And so, well, about 6 cars. And so sure enough, they wreck about 6 cars in some very good, well coordinated stunts. At one point, they run a car through the guy's house, and it looks terrific.
Oh, cool.
It's not an actual house; it's a little kind of partial set they built to look like a house.
Oh, wow. Okay.
But just some really killer stuff. But they kill all these, gangsters. Unfortunately, they have the bad side effect of the gangsters pop up and start becoming vampires themselves.
Oh, yeah.
And they pop back up and do that. But the angels around this point tell them, hey, this is nonsense. Why are you doing this? We want you to do this other stuff because we really want to rid the world of this plague of humanity, and you guys have been enlisted in this war, and it's kind of like, well, okay, so I guess that's what we do now. But just as they're doing that, Brian Pollan's character kind of shows up and has a demon show up, and again, the demon, looking pretty interesting, the way he's dressed up and everything, and he tells them, no, you're being snowed this whole thing. Yeah, they really like you, and that's why they're going to kill you last. And you need to turn on these angels and start killing them for me. And if you do, here are the good perks I'm going to give you. And see, they were just going to let you die. And when you die, you don't have a soul anymore. So you just be plunged into eternal blackness. And and so I'll keep you alive forever and give you this or that reward. And so Brian Pollan's character goes out and starts killing all the angels, but it basically ends up as a big battle between the two guys, the two vampires.
They're
And
fighting each other.
yeah, and they're basically we're trying to kill each other. They're running around wreaking all kinds of mayhem, but
Probably listening to mayhem too at the same time.
probably listening to mayhem. No, but they list all the bands they do have in there, so yeah, there are quite a few. Anyway, just I thought, wow, kind of remarkable, and as someone who kind of comes out of the DIY field, just seeing folks do things on such a small budget so well was just kind of very inspirational and exciting to me.
Do you like his other movies, or have you seen any?
I haven't seen any other than this, but I will definitely be on the lookout.
I've seen 3 or 4. Marksman, who unfortunately just left our group, but will return at some point. Mark Baranowski. He introduced me to a lot of horror. He and I watched a few together. Bone Sickness is a zombie one it had a low budget, but higher.
Yeah, that's another one of his. That was another one of his early ones, I think.
Yeah, that's very ambitious, and he mostly pulls it off. And the parts that he doesn't pull off, to some people look ridiculous, but to me they just look absurd, which adds to the mood. I mean, he's kind of like trying to throw everything at the wall to see what'll stick. And
yeah,
Creatures. It reminded me of the movie that Yvette is on did with Bruno Mattei, the zombies at the beginning. I mean, first she's fighting regular zombies, then she's got these pregnant women with these tubes in them, and there's baby zombies, and there's this one guy hooked up with this giant massive brain that's going to take over the. It's like you hear that a lot of ideas and creativity, and I like that, even if it's not all executed perfectly. It's pretty cool, and I can't off the top of my head I can't remember the name of the other. I wish they're more well known or as well known as Bone Sickness, but I can't remember the name of the other Pollan movies. I know him on Facebook. He's a nice guy. Yeah, he really is sharp on special effects for sure.
He seems like a good chap. I don't know. Yeah, I wound up while I was watching that, just enjoyed that, and I threw on the making of featurette, and that was terrific.
Any of you guys familiar with this Brian Pollan character?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well,
at all.
You're missing out. Okay. Well, that could be arguable. I mean, he's probably a love or hate experience. But but predictably I'm in the middle. So, but leaning to, more positive than negative overall. He's one of my favorite, if you could have any favorite. He's one of the better contemporary underground micro budget extreme gore filmmakers. He's not as sadistic. He's not as like trying to shock, though he likes that stuff, but he always has a story. It's not always the greatest story, but at least, he's got some creativity, he's got some ideas, and that's more important to him than, okay, it's as important to him as the effects. Important, and the effects probably might be a little more important to him. That's great, man. I love it.
Yeah. No, it almost kind of reminds me. There was this one point in time. I don't know. I covered this one, Golgotha, Arkansas, back like a little while ago. and one of the guy who made it had originally tried to pull me and my roommate into a movie together where it was basically going to be the take on vampires was basically that they were kind of descendants or scions somehow of the Sawney Bean clan that kind of
Interesting.
moved off into the wilderness a la not Last House on the Left, but the other one,
The Hills Have Eyes.
The
Hills Have
Hills Have
Eyes. Yeah,
Eyes. Yeah.
yeah.
Mhm.
But they were just kind of out there, and they were basically these kind of, I don't know, they weren't even according to Hoyle vampires. They were just kind of hemoglobin addicted super predators or something who were kind of in the spare time bootlegging absinthe. And they were going to have basically this big battle with mobsters who were absinthe addicts. And
Get your friend to make that movie, man.
yeah, I don't know if it's happening at this juncture, but for a while there, it was looking pretty likely. But the bottom kind of fell through on that one.
Yeah, it's
But that kind of reminded me kind of the line of thought going into that. So
yeah, very cool,
All
very
right.
cool. All right, well, we're gonna
Very
take
good.
off. What'd you say, Briggy?
No, I said very cool. Yeah.
Thank you.
Ah.
I agree. So, yeah, we're gonna take off, and we'll see you soon in another episode. More vampires, more chaos, more mayhem, more of us. Please like and subscribe.
Don't touch that dial.
No, touch it.
You can touch it now.
And it's true that we cannot see that far behind. If we looked all the way in the past, we'd go blind. In the night, from the stars as they've all lived their lives, and the light that they gave as they burned and then died.